Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar tells India's lower house of parliament that there was no linkage to trade by US President Trump during the conflict with Pakistan. Donald Trump slashes his 50-day deadline for Putin. The US President says his Russian counterpart has just 10 to 12 days to end the Ukraine conflict while meeting UK's Starmer in Scotland. Thailand and Cambodia agree to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire following talks in Malaysia. The talks are facilitated by Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. And India's Divya Deshmukh wins FIDE Women's World Cup 2025. Beats compatriot Koneru Hampui in tie breaks to claim the title in Georgia. Well, first up, the monsoon session of India's parliament is underway and the Lok Sabha is holding a special discussion on India's strong, successful and decisive Operation Sindoor in response to terrorist attack in Pahalgam. Initiating the debate in the lower house, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh emphasized that Operation Sindoor was a decisive and effective demonstration of India's stance against terrorism, adding that the military operation was an effective and well-coordinated strike against 9 terror sites.
की गई वेल कोऑर्डिनेटेड स्ट्राइक्स ने 9 टेररिस्ट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर टारगेट्स को प्रिसीजन के साथ सटीकता के साथ हिट किया और इस सैन्य कार्रवाई में एक अनुमान के अनुसार 100 से अधिक आतंकवादी, मैं बहुत संभल कर बोल रहा हूं अध्यक्ष महोदय, हमारी फिगर गलत ना होने पाए, फिगर इससे बहुत अधिक है, 100 से अधिक आतंकवादी, उनके ट्रेनर, उनके प्रशिक्षक, उनके हैंडलर, लश्कर-ए तोयबा और हिजबुल मुजाहिदीन जैसे आतंकवादी संगठनों से संबंधित थे। ये वही आतंकी संगठन हैं जिन्होंने पाकिस्तान की सेना और ISI का जिन्हें खुला समर्थन प्राप्त है।
Minister Singh added that Operation Sindoor showcased tri-services synergy.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ट्राई सर्विसेज कोऑर्डिनेशन का एक बेमिसाल उदाहरण था। जब भारतीय वायुसेना ने आसमान से हमले किए, हमारी थल सेना ने जमीन पर मोर्चा संभाल लिया। भारतीय नौसैनिकों ने पाकिस्तान को यह साफ संदेश दिया कि हम समुद्र से लेकर जमीन तक पाकिस्तान के हर महत्वपूर्ण ठिकानों पर प्रहार करने में न केवल सक्षम हैं बल्कि हम तैयार हैं।
Rajnath Singh also added that overall politico-military objective of Operation Sindoor was to punish Pakistan for fighting a proxy war in the form of terrorism.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर का ओवरऑल पॉलिटिको-मिलिट्री ऑब्जेक्टिव यह था कि आतंकवाद के रूप में प्रॉक्सी वार लड़ रहे पाकिस्तान को सजा दी जाए और इसी वजह से आर्म फोर्सेस को पूरी आजादी दी गई थी कि वो अपने टारगेट खुद चुने और करारा जवाब दें और इस ऑपरेशन का उद्देश्य कोई भी युद्ध छेड़ना नहीं था बल्कि फोर्स के डेमोन्स्ट्रेटिव यूज से एडवर्सरी को झुकने के लिए मजबूर करना था।
Congress leader Gaurav Gogoi participated in the special discussion at the lower house on Operation Sindoor and said that it's the duty of the opposition to question the government in the nation's interest.
हमारे विपक्ष का कर्तव्य रक्षा मंत्री होने के नाते ये नहीं कहा कि पहलगाम में दहशतगर्द कैसे आए, ये नहीं कहा कि बेसारन में जहां पर 1000 लोग जाते हैं, खुशियां मनाते हैं, कैसे 5 दहशतगर्द वहां पर जाकर 26 लोगों की गोलियों से छलनी करते हैं। ये बात, ये सूचना रक्षा मंत्री ने नहीं दी। आज ये है हमारे विपक्ष का कर्तव्य कि हम सवाल पूछेंगे देश हित में, राष्ट्र हित में।
Also, during the discussion on Operation Sindoor in the lower house or the Lok Sabha of the Indian Parliament on Monday, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar rejected the claim of talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump.
I want to make two things very clear, sir. One, at no stage in any conversation with the United States was there any linkage with trade and what was going on. Secondly, there was, please listen. Secondly, there was no call between the Prime Minister and President Trump from the 22nd of April when President Trump called up to convey his sympathy, and the 17th of June when he called up Prime Minister in Canada to explain why he could not meet.
On international support, Dr. S. Shankar said that only 3 countries supported Pakistan, while an overwhelming majority backed the operation as a rightful action against terrorism.
Phone calls, a number of conversations. At my level, there were 27 calls. At Prime Minister, I think almost 20 calls. About 35, 40 letters of support came in. And what we tried to do was to create a narrative, prepare the diplomacy for the launch of Operation Sindoor. And the result of that diplomacy, Honorable Speaker, sir, there are 193 nations of the members of the United Nations. 193. Only 3, apart from Pakistan, opposed Operation Sindoor. Only 3. So if you look through this period, and I would be very happy to share with the House the exact positions of various governments, overwhelmingly, there was recognition that terrorism is unacceptable, that a country which has been attacked has a right to defend itself, and that India was doing exactly that.
So before the monsoon session of Parliament commenced, the opposition had made it clear that it would try to corner the government over Operation Sindoor and all the things that were swirling around it. But has it succeeded? Let me find out from my colleague Dibendu Mandal, who is covering all the proceedings today, in particularly the lower house of Parliament where this discussion happened. Dibendu, good evening. Now, what can you tell us about whether the government got cornered by the opposition or not, or did it come out all guns blazing itself?
Well, Gautam, throughout today, in the beginning of the session today morning, we saw that the opposition was trying to corner the government, and the deadlock that we were seeing since last week, the opposition tried to continue with the deadlock. But however, after 1 p.m. when the House was adjourned, till 2 p.m. there was a meeting that was held with the opposition, which clearly gave way to the fact that now that the debate on Operation Sindoor will be carried out in the floor of the House in Lok Sabha, and therefore a successful debate is currently, as we speak, Gautam, underway in Lok Sabha. It's been more than 7 hours, more than 6 hours, sorry, now that the debate is underway in the lower house. We saw senior leaders, including Defense Minister as well as External Affairs Minister, both Rajnath Singh and Jai Shankar, giving their reply to what has entailed in Operation Sindoor, while from the defense side, Rajnath Singh made amply clear of what was the intent of India while carrying out Operation Sindoor, and there was a lot of questions about the diplomacy and also on the diplomatic front of how India fared during the diplomacy. So therefore, all these positions have now been made clear by the government. The opposition that was trying to corner the government on the issue of failed diplomacy, as well as why was that one phone call that the opposition had been talking about that led to the ceasefire. Therefore, that fact in which the opposition was trying to corner the government has now been put to bed, with External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar clearly stating that there were no negotiations that were made between Donald Trump as well as Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and therefore no phone calls were made between the US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a very long period of time, which is the first was on the 22nd of April when that dastardly attack did take place, and then on the 17th of June when Prime Minister was in Canada. In between, there were no phone calls, and he has also made it clear on the floor of the House, giving the opposition their reply, their answer to the fact that the issue between India and Pakistan is bilateral and will remain bilateral. Also,
Okay.
the opposition tried, Gautam, to corner the government on the fact that on the diplomatic front, we had to send delegations to different countries to put out our words. But Jaishankar clarified on that, saying that, all the countries, apart from three, he mentioned three countries, apart from that, all other countries have stood by India. He also did mention about the fact that Germany, when he went to Germany, the German foreign minister did talk about how, how the German government was beside India and its actions and its retaliatory action on through Operation Sindoor. So therefore, all the points that the opposition was trying to make to corner the government has been put to rest.
Right. But Dr. Jaishankar also added that there was a call from the American Vice President J.D. Vance. So what was that about?
Well, he did mention that there was a call that took place between the Vice President J.D. Vance and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi he said on the floor of the House that PM did clarify to J.D. Vance that this would, the escalation that was happening would only come to an end if Pakistan wanted it, and Pakistan's DGMO did make a phone call to the DGMO of India, after which that escalation bilaterally was decided to bring down that escalation, and therefore that quote unquote ceasefire was achieved, and therefore no blackmailing, no negotiation on trade deals, nothing of that sort did take place. But of course, the phone call between J.D. Vance and Prime Minister Narendra Modi did happen, and that phone call was not about any trade deals or any trade talks, but saying that Pakistan wanted to talk, and therefore and Prime Minister Narendra Modi made it clear that the DGMO, it's a bilateral issue, and the DGMO of Pakistan needs to initiate and speak to the DGMO of India to end the escalation.
Okay.
Gautam.
And if I remember correctly, the term ceasefire was also not used. It was stoppage of firing. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Dibyendu Mondal. Now, 3 terrorists have been neutralized in an encounter that broke out in the upper reaches of the Harwan area in central Kashmir's Srinagar district. Security forces launched a cordon and search operation in the forested Lidwas area following specific intelligence inputs. Contacts with terrorists were established this morning, leading to a gunfight. In a post on social media platform X, the Chinar Corps of the Indian Army confirmed the development, saying, and I quote, "Op Mahadev, contacts established in general area of Lidwas, operation in progress," end quote. Additional reinforcements were rushed to the site as Operation Mahadev carried on. Now, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and US President Donald Trump have met in Scotland on Monday. The mini-summit at Turnberry was intended primarily to focus on the continued problem of steel tariffs imposed by Donald Trump and other aspects of the trade deal the two signed last month. On the other hand, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza was also on the agenda. The leaders also discussed trade and Russia's conflict in Ukraine. Now, US President Donald Trump on Monday increased pressure on Russia to end its conflict in Ukraine, saying he was setting a new deadline of 10 to 12 days for Moscow to make progress on doing so. Trump, who was holding meetings in Scotland, said earlier on Monday that he was going to shorten the 50-day deadline he had set for Putin because of frustration with his attitude.
We thought we had that settled numerous times, and then President Putin goes out and starts launching rockets into some city like Kiev and kills a lot of people in a nursing home or whatever. You have bodies lying all over the street. And I say that's not the way to do it. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed in President Putin. Very disappointed in him. So we're going to have to look, and I'm going to reduce that 50 days that I gave him to a lesser number, because I think I already know the answer what's going to happen.
And Donald Trump also said that the United States will set up food centers in Gaza to help avert a deepening hunger crisis in the Palestinian territory.
We're going to set up food centers and where the people can walk in and no boundaries. We're not going to have fences, and they can't. They see the food from 30 you would say yards away, and they see the food. It's all there, but nobody's at it because they have fences set up that nobody can even get it. It's crazy what's going on over there.
And it seems Donald Trump has also conceded there that there's signs of real starvation in Gaza. Now, the US and China have started a fresh round of trade talks in Stockholm on Monday. Senior US and Chinese negotiators, led by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Vice Premier Haley Feng, met in Stockholm to address economic disputes fueling the US-China trade war. Facing the 12th of August deadline, the talks aim to extend a tariff truce with US tariffs on Chinese goods at 30% and China's at 10%. The US seeks greater export opportunities to reduce its $295.5 billion US trade deficit, while China demands easing of US tariffs, including a 20% fentanyl-related levy. Without agreement, tariffs could exceed 100%, disrupting global supply chains. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has said that he valued the European Commission's constructive effort to clinch the trade deal with the United States. The agreement was announced on Sunday between two economies that account for almost a third of global trade. Sanchez also called for the European Union to expand its commercial partnerships with Mercosur, Indonesia and India in response to the tariff war with the United States.
I value the effort made by the European Commission. I appreciate the constructive and negotiating attitude shown by the President of the European Commission, and in any case, I support this trade agreement, but I do so without any enthusiasm.
Meanwhile, French Industry Minister said on Monday that trade agreement between EU and the US is unbalanced. Minister Marc Ferracci added, more is needed to be done in terms of rebalancing Europe's trade relations with the US. He further said that the 15% baseline tariff is well above initial hopes of a zero-for-zero agreement trade deal with the US.
Some sectors that are important for European industry, such as the aeronautics and the spirits sector, should be exempted. We will have the details of this deal within the day. Then a technical negotiation will take place in the coming weeks. But we have to admit that this is an unbalanced deal that should encourage us to continue working towards rebalancing trade between Europe and the United States.
And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Russia and North Korea resume flight that is their first commercial flights between their capitals in decades. Tehran rejects talks with the West on defense capabilities following France's call for a comprehensive deal.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Iran on Monday said that its military capabilities were not up for negotiations after France called for a comprehensive deal with Tehran that covers its missile program. In a media briefing, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai said that regarding matters related to our defense capabilities, there will absolutely be no discussion. Iran generally refers to all military activities, including its ballistic missile program, as defensive.
Regarding our defensive capabilities, I believe that Islamic Republic of Iran and the Iranian nation are today even more determined than they were a month ago to safeguard all their assets, including their means of defense against foreign aggression and hostility. Regarding matters related to our defense capabilities, there will absolutely be no discussion.
Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has announced that Thailand and Cambodia have agreed to a ceasefire after talks in Malaysia. Thai Acting Prime Minister Phumtham Vichayachai, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim on Monday held a joint news conference in Putrajaya, Malaysia, following 5 days of deadly border clashes. The talks, hosted by ASEAN Chair Anwar, addressed a conflict that killed 35 and displaced over 260,000 people. The ceasefire includes a military commanders meeting on Tuesday.
Prime Minister Hun Manet and Acting Prime Minister Phumtham Vichayachai have expressed their positions and willingness to immediate ceasefire and return to normalcy. Both Cambodia and Thailand reached a common understanding as follows. 1. An immediate and unconditional ceasefire with effect from 24 hours local time, midnight, on 28th July 2025, tonight. This is a vital first step towards de-escalation and the restoration of peace and security.
A Russian passenger jet landed at Pyongyang's international airport on Monday as the countries resumed the first commercial flights between their capitals in decades. Russia and North Korea have pulled closer in the last year, with Pyongyang sending weapons and troops to aid Moscow's conflict with Ukraine, likely in exchange for technical assistance. Russia previously announced the Moscow-Pyongyang route would be serviced once a month. Now, torrential rains hit Beijing and nearby regional areas on Monday, triggering flash floods and landslides that forced over 4,400 evacuations. Authorities issued the city's highest level of flood alert with warning of worsening conditions overnight. Forecast predicted over 6 inches of rain within 6 hours, with some areas possibly refusing double that. India's Divya Deshmukh has clinched her maiden FIDE Women's Chess World Cup title by defeating compatriot Koneru Hampi in Georgia. In an All-India final, Divya edged out Hampi 2.5 to 1.5 points to become the champion. The contest entered into the tie-breaks after both the classic matches ended in a stalemate. The first rapid game was drawn, but Divya won the second game with the black pieces to seal her victory. Divya had already secured her spot in the candidates tournament. Now with this win, she becomes the first Indian woman to win the FIDE Women's World Cup and earn her Grandmaster title in the process as well. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy from All for Sale in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.